Good morning everybody, and welcome to the cloudy northeast corner of South Africa. Just over to the sort of northern side of us, there's some guinea fowl shouting. They're very upset. And Chris Rogue and Marilyn, you said that you heard lions roaring around here about 10 minutes ago at about 10 to 5:50, 10 to 6. I can't see any lions at the moment, but you can see that it is still pretty dark, and those guinea fowl are very upset about something over there. You can hear them going. That is an alarm call of some sort, so they've definitely seen something irritating them. I did hear lions myself further off to the north, way up to the north, sort of well off this reserve, sometime during the course of the night. Anyway, we'll have a squiz around here and see what we can find. You're on a live safari. My name is James Henry. On camera today is Jeandre. There we go, that's his thumb. In the final control, we have Geraldine Cheesecake Kent being ably assisted, I think, by Louise today, if I'm not mistaken. It could also be Rebecca. It's Rebecca. I can never get that straight. And then on the other vehicle is Samuel Chevalier, and he's being filmed by David. They are shortly to be out, also probably heading down towards Karula, where she had her kill and her 2 babies yesterday. What a delightful Mother's Day gift she gave us yesterday by being so confiding with her 2 little youngsters. We're going to drive around here, see what we can find, and then we'll probably make our way down towards where the leopard was yesterday, give Sam a hand. He hasn't spent much time with those cubs, so he's going to try and spend some time with them this morning. Hopefully they're still there. They might have disappeared somewhere else during the course of the night. That kill was on the ground, so whether or not Karula hoisted it, whether or not she hoisted it, I don't know. But if she did hoist it, then no doubt they will be in the same place. Let us hope for a good hoosting this morning, Jeandre. Don't you think? You are on a live safari, like I say, so please talk to us. Hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter, or questions at WildEarth.tv if you want to talk to us on the email. Now, we're going to drive around to where those guinea fowl are shouting and see if we can't find something. Around about 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon, there was a huge amount of conflagration going on. There were kudu alarm calling, there were monkeys shouting. And we came driving down here, and then we heard squirrels shouting, and we didn't find anything. So I don't know, maybe there is a predator that's around here. There's no one in the lodge at the moment, so we can drive up past the final control. And we'll have a look-see there. There's something else I wanted to tell you. Oh yes, it's 19 degrees Celsius, so it's not cold at all. That's 59 degrees Fahrenheit. And so it is cloudy, but it's not cold. And I think the clouds have sort of held in what little heat there was yesterday. It turned into the most spectacular afternoon yesterday, and we had gorgeous light and equally gorgeous prince and princess leopards. Oh, I also caused a small conflagration yesterday by referring to the little male leopard as George, because I've suggested that we call them George and Charlotte after the prince and princess. These are not official names, everybody. Please don't worry. The names will be chosen by the rangers here at some stage. They have not been chosen yet. So when I refer to George and Charlotte, I'm just being silly. I don't want to get myself in trouble. If it comes out that I have taken it upon myself to name those cubs, there will be great conflagration around in the area. The naming of leopards is a deeply touchy subject out here. Not that it makes the slightest iota of difference to any leopard that I've ever known. But we're people, and we are funny old things. Now, it's around here, there was alarm calling. I don't see anything here, and I think there may have been more in the way of other animal alarm calls as well. Now, Siberia Zumi, an experienced Zumi, to whom we are very grateful for the effort that effort is put into moving the camera around. You say, and listening, you reckon that the lions didn't sound like they were close to the camp, but maybe off to the east, maybe around Buffelshoek? Well, that was where we were sort of going to head, so I think we'll do that almost immediately. Good idea. Righty, we'll go up the sort of western side of the camp, and then up towards Buffelshoek Dam and Buffelshoek. We're just going past the final control where you'll be able to greet Geraldine and Rebecca. So when I say now, everybody look left and wave. And now. There we are. There they are. Jerry says hello. Rebecca apparently is still asleep. What we're going to do tomorrow on Bushwalk, I know many of you have asked to go into the final control, and they've been oohing and ahhing, especially about when to do it. And, you know, they don't look so good in the morning. And tomorrow's Bushwalk will begin in the final control, so you can have a look exactly what's going on. I've there now committed them on behalf of everybody, and so now we have to do it. There's a... what is that? This is a young nyala. It is a young nyala. Young nyala bull walking across the clearings. Always good to just stop and have a little listen before continuing. He looks distinctly unalarmed by the state of affairs this dawn. So I think we'll probably continue. He's got a friend in front of him, Jeandre. You see that? They're friends. A young teenage romance going on there. Doesn't that fill your heart with warmth, Jeandre? Remind you of a time when you were young and carefree?
Butterflies in my stomach.
Exactly. Yes. Saying ridiculously gormless things. She thinking, what an idiot. Certainly that's how it was for me. I'm not sure. I mean, you're obviously much smoother than I am.
Quite so.
Of course, it didn't help. By the time I was a teenager, I still looked like I was 6 years old. But luckily for that, Nyara, he does look like a 15-year-old. I mean, in human years. In Nyala years, he's about 2.5. Right, so you can hear very little going on, and you find that on cloudy mornings like this, the dawn chorus tends to be fairly subdued. But what you can maybe hear is the sparrows. Toop, toop, toop. They're the first to come out, and then one or two drongos in the background. But the doves, who are the main sort of drivers of the dawn chorus, the big string section out here, they are silent. And I think that's got largely to do with the fact that it is a cloudy morning. All righty, Jeandre, shall we press on? And while we press on, Samuel has managed to get himself going, and he's also found what Jamie found thousands of yesterday, an elephant.
So we are sitting with an elephant this morning. There are clouds above us. It's fairly warm because it's trapping in that heat. We had a great conversation last night around elephants and the importance of the mother elephant in our lives. And now, myself and Dave, and another elephant just popped into screen. And this morning you'll have Dave and Sam Chevalier going out into the bush with you this morning. You'll have Geraldine and Rebecca as directors, and I'm excited to work with you. And hopefully we'll bring you some exciting things this morning. We have hopefully got some exciting plans ahead of us this morning. But that is a great way to start the day with some elephants. To what looks like we just came across one elephant that walked across the road. And I just said, surely that elephant is too small to be on its own. And then all of a sudden the next one popped out. So who knows, there could be a whole herd that we haven't seen yet, that are just behind the bushes here. I want to go a little bit closer. They look very comfortable at the moment. so we'll just go a little closer. As you can see, Elvis the Ellies with us this morning. I really enjoyed that chat that we had last night. It's always nice to talk about the role of the mother in our lives. And it got me thinking lots about all those moments I've had in my life with mothers. Beautiful. Look at you this morning. Welcome to the day. Got a slight little spit of rain coming in. Doesn't seem to be too bad, but it's definitely quite prominent. Can you smell that, Dave? Something quite stinky just up ahead. Not sure what that could be. It looks like they're off browsing for the morning to see what foliage they might be able to come across. So that's how morning started, with some elephants. We are now on Weaver's Nest Road. I was told that you just saw some Nyalas with James talking about young love. That's quite funny. I'm always surprised at how James can have such a great humour at 5 in the morning. There's a few more down there. We can't quite see them at the moment. Let me try and get into a position where we can. There we go. Yo, I'm going to reverse and they might just come through past us, which will be incredible. For now, let's just have a look at them. Beautiful breeding herd of elephants in the morning. Great way to start your Monday morning. Looks like that youngster could be suckling. Or just playing. Sometimes you find elephants just playing at the back. This way, playing at the back of other elephants. That elephant seemed to wait. There's a small one. Wow, there's a very, very small elephant in there. I'm going to reverse, just so that we might be able to get a view of them coming straight towards us, which would be fantastic, as long as we... Okay, so if we sit still for a little bit... Oh, there's an elephant over there. So we've got one elephant there. Grazing now, eating some of the grasses. And the rain is starting to come down quite significantly now. A little bit harder. Gonna listen. Here comes the elephants to our right. Start viewing them here. You can just hear them. Listen to the sound of these elephants in the morning and the trees shaking. You can just see them here, but there's all those trees in the way. And we're going to get the beautiful shot of them coming closer and closer. So it's great that we are getting a few drips of rain this morning, as we will need it over the dry winter months that are to come in just a few weeks. You can already see some of the autumnness coming out. Oh, here come the elephants. It's very cool to wake up to this. It's gonna... Ooh. So it is coming down quite a lot stronger now. It's cool to be out here. This might just bring on the insects. So we'll have a morning of elephants and potentially some lovely insects that come out because of the rain. See how strong they can be. They break off. And last night we were chatting about how the mother will move the herd in certain directions and the responsibility and the role that she plays. Making sure that the herd is able to find the adequate amount of resources. Oh, here's a very young one. Hello. And all the young females within this group will be learning from that matriarch so that they too can one day lead a herd. It's very cool to watch as we start our morning. So it seems that this is a rather large herd. As I can, in the distance, see a big elephant also coming. But this young one is very, very sweet as it uses its trunk. I'm going to be silent now just as we watch these elephants as they move past us. Look how close they've got to us now. You can see that this female's tusks are different sizes. Look how she chews on that grass. She's eating from a buffalo thorn here. Yeah, that's quite a short-looking tusk as we can observe. So we can quite clearly see the size comparison between the mother and the baby. And it is just so awesome to sit here and listen to them break off these branches and suckle. Sometimes you just don't need words for these kind of sightings. Observing them and their behavior, it's just incredible. Look how strong and powerful they are to be able to break some of these branches. And even have a look at this little youngster. Sweet. Hello. So we are in the middle of a huge breeding herd of elephants. This is really, really cool to see this, and we've observed the youngster suckling as well as feeding on the tree, which was interesting to see. They are all around us. I can't explain how incredible this is. Kyle, you observed that the elephants are very, very peaceful and that you love it. Kyle, I couldn't agree more. In these situations, I just want to be quiet and listen to them and experience them. Very, very docile. See, they're eating the buffalo thorn, so it's actually got quite a hook in the branch itself. So they're able to eat all types of leaves that don't have any thorns in it, and leaves that have significant thorns in it. So if you actually get a look at that, wow, this is so cool to be sitting in the middle of this herd. We were very lucky to just get here in time. Have a look at the suckle marks on the female. You can just see them now. So she's going to be looking after youngsters. And this looks like a little teenager over here. Look at all that brown dirt on their bottom. So I think this could be the rear end of the herd that we are seeing now. I can't see any more elephants coming in from the west of us. I can just see them here. So we can see them now heading off down towards Twin Dams. So we're reported on the radio. Stations, large breeding herd of elephants heading in a easterly direction across Weaver's Nest Road, about 100 meters from the junction of Gowrie Man. Go ahead, Mike. Mike, I'm on my way to that sighting. I just came across Weaver's Nest and bumped into a huge herd of elephants. And so I'll make my way to that position now. What's your position? Copy, Mike. The whole herd is now heading in that easterly direction across Weaver's Nest, so they'll probably be going down to Twin Dams. Copy, I'll let you know when I'm done. Oh, wow, what a cool sighting that was. To be in and amongst a breeding herd of elephants, as Carl said, is a very, very peaceful and docile experience. Good dude. So, I wonder if it's going to be raining on our side. But I know we've got rain covers here, so we'll be able to cover ourselves up if it does begin to rain quite profusely. There goes that amazing breeding herd of elephants. What an experience, okay? It's not even like, it's about 6:10 in the morning and we've sat with about 40 elephants. There's the last one over here. Beautiful. Cheers, guys. William in Oregon is asking, well, notice that one of the females had extremely long eyelashes, and is there any purpose for them? Well, William, I think much like we have eyelashes on our eyes to protect us from, please excuse this horrible squeaky sound that's coming out of Rusty. Rusty's not going through the best of times, as you can quite clearly hear. But William, much like we have eyelashes on our eyes to protect us from the rain and protect us from the dust and all sorts of things coming into the vehicle, I think the elephants also have that. So they're often grazing and on big branches, as you saw now, and those eyelashes help to be an extra form of protection before it goes into the eye. So that would be my answer, William. There could be another purpose, but I think it's purely out of protection. So we've had such an amazing sighting with those elephants, and I'd love to talk more about them a bit later, because I preferred to be silent during that sighting and to really experience the elephants as well as you can as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about them later, but for now, let's go and see how James is doing on the other side of Jeandre.
That form and find the little baby leopard cubs. We are easing our way along the Buffelshoek cut line, and as you can see, I've been wetted slightly by some drizzle that is coming out of the sky. This is quite nice for the bush, of course, being a very dry spot. I don't think it can qualify quite as rain yet, but certainly there is a bit of drizzle coming out of my mouth, the drizzle coming out of the sky at the moment, and that's quite nice. Animal-wise, Jeandre, we've seen nothing at all. No. So hopefully our luck will improve. No tracks of any lions going to and from here, so let's go to Buffelshoek Dam, as Siberia Zumi suggested, also because we know that the pregnant lioness was been there, and Sam had a very, very strong premonition that perhaps she gave birth yesterday, not on account of it being Mother's Day, but sort of by coincidence of it being Mother's Day yesterday. And she's been lying around Buffelshoek Dam looking very uncomfortably pregnant for some time. I thought she would have given birth sort of 2 days or so after she left the Pride, but she seems to be hanging around there on her own, still uncomfortably big and fat, and hasn't given birth yet. She might have given birth yesterday, but we'll go and have a look. Now just remember, if she has given birth, we're not going to go sort of fossicking about for the newborn cubs. Often lions do move them though, and because lions are so confident, they will often move their cubs in front of vehicles. So, you know, you get those classic pictures of lionesses moving, walking with a cub in their mouths, and then they kind of take them to another spot. So we might be lucky with that sort of view, but we wouldn't actively go and search for her right just yet if we knew she had cubs. Also on account of the fact that there is nothing quite so terrifying in the world than being charged by an angry lioness who thinks you want to come and take her babies from her. In fact, it is a blood-curdling, bone-chilling experience. And Anna Marie, you reckon that this overcast weather is very good for spotting lions? Well, I hope so. You have a good feeling. That's very good news. I don't have a particular premonition at this stage, but I'm hoping for some lions. I'm also hoping that the dear Queen has hoisted her impala and is still sitting where she was yesterday. Sam will be there very shortly to be able to tell us. Right, the Buffelshoek Dam is just down here, so let's keep an eye out all around here, under the bushes, on the road, and we'll see if we can spot a lioness. Or indeed a male lion would do, don't you think, Jeandre? A male leopard would do as well, really. Plenty of buffalo tracks around here. Plenty of waterbuck tracks. So there's been activity at the dam. There was also, Jamie tried to get here about 7 or 8 times yesterday evening, but there were elephants everywhere she looked. And so it's quite possible that the elephants would have sort of chased her into the thick bush. Hippo tracks going towards the water. It's all happening out here, it's all happening. The water, you can see here that the landscape moves down towards where the dam is. Hello, Lucy. What a nice question. You obviously listen to the dam cam a lot. And you say, with all the rutting of the impala going on, that loud, roaring, snorting noise that they make at each other, do we ever get woken up by it during the course of the night? Lucy, I don't. I find that I'm very little will wake me up in the course of the night, so I think that's more a function of me than it is anyone else. Jeandre, have they woken you up?
Just your snoring.
Just my snoring. Right. There's a hippopotamus, Jeandre. That's very good, Jeandre. That's the first time you've got in the first insult. We'll see who gets in the last. Lucy, our camp is also in a sort of courtyard, and so much of the sound of the night actually doesn't filter into it. But yes, there have been incidents in various parts of the bush where I've lived that there has been noise of impala all through the night. And now, of course, is when they're actually mating. They're not just rutting at the moment. So there is a hippopotamus. Nice to see him here at Buffelshoek Dam. It might be Bob, the old bachelor of Buffelshoek. And what we're going to do is just scan the general vicinity of the tawny, well-camouflaged shape of a lioness, which I unsurprisingly do not see. I say unsurprisingly, as I think I used every piece of luck I ever had yesterday with the most incredible leopard sighting. Just listening now, you can hear the doves have suddenly come to life. And this hippopotamus, of course, is not alone. You see, Jeandre? He has the water version of the oxpecker on him. See that? And that, of course, is a serrated, hinged terrapin. The terrapin that lives in these large bodies of water. And he's just hoping for a few rays of sun. And, of course, there are no rays of sun yet, and I'm not sure that there are going to be any today. A terrapin, of course, is what we call ectothermic, traditionally sort of cold-blooded, which means that in order for his sort of metabolism to work as effectively as possible, he needs to try and get some warmth from the outside world. And so that's why I suspect the hippopotamus is a good place for him to sit, because he will be able to absorb some of the hippopotamus's warmth. And the hippo, of course, is a mammal, and so will maintain a body temperature somewhere between 36 and 40 degrees. That's quite a clever strategy, actually, if you're a terrapin. I imagine it must be like having something sort of walking over your back and tickling you, don't you think, Jeandre? Sometimes when the flies get really bad, I give up worrying about them and just sort of pretend that they are, you know, sort of a sophisticated method of tickling that has been provided. Look at this tickling. Yellow red-billed hornbill has flown right in here and landed right next to us. I saw him coming from miles away. I didn't think he'd land here. Isn't that nice? Sorry, I did my jacket up, everybody, during the course of the rain, and that has muffled my microphone. That should be better. There we are. And there's some Birchall's starlings in the same tree. Well, one Birchall's starling in the same tree. You can hear a white-browed scrub robin off to the side. It's so peaceful here. Elaine, a nice one from you, and I think it depends very much on the animal. So it's cooler today than it might be. Well, it's not. It's not cooler than it would have been on a less cloudy day. It's quite a lot warmer. It's probably about 5 degrees warmer, but it's going to stay probably around this temperature for the course of the day. And Elaine, your question is that going to make a difference to the behavior of the animals? Will they be slightly less lethargic than they would be otherwise? And the answer is probably yes for leopards and lions and possibly the hyenas as well. But for the rest of the animals, you'll find, for example, buffalo will huddle in weather like this. So in an early, or normally on an early cool morning, they'd go off and try and find something to eat. And then during the heat of the day, they'll huddle together. At least not huddle together, they'll lie down in the shade. But in the coolth of a day like this, they will lie together. They'll sort of cuddle up. And so while the morning feels warmer, the rest of the day will feel chilly. And I think you'll find that the animals, are, while not lethargic, are certainly not that mobile. They don't move around a great deal more, but the cats will perhaps a little bit more, especially the leopards. Leopards like to hunt in the day if they can, you know. They're not averse to a daytime hunt. And I've always kind of got the impression that if they could, they would be diurnal. But because they're quite large, it's just easier for them to hunt during the night. Alrighty, let's just pop around to the other side of the waterhole, see what we can find there. This hippopotamus is not doing a huge amount of active stuff. As you can see there, Elaine, not doing a great deal. Hippo, on a day like this, may well be found outside. Right, Sam is looking for Karula. Let's go across there and get an update from him as to what's going on. I don't think he's found her just yet.
Well, so we're at the last place where Karula was seen with her cubs, and I'm just looking at tracks now. It doesn't look like she's here myself and Dave have had a look, but we're just going to go back and see if we can find if any tracks have passed or crossed over out over Gowrie Main. So we're just looking for some tracks. She was last seen up here where all the vehicle tracks go off here. So we're just going to go slowly and see maybe if we can see something in there. The chances are, you know, Karula did make a kill and leave it on the floor. So she either hoisted it or something has taken it and she took her cubs away. So let's just have a look. Can you see any tracks just on the side there, Dave? Nothing there, huh? So there doesn't seem to be any tracks. We'll just go further on to see if we can find any other tracks that might have walked up the road. But this is where all the vehicle tracks are, and most likely where Karula was. We were here yesterday, and there's something about it that sparks my memory. But of course, the biggest memory is Karula herself feeding on an impala. So we'll slowly go forward, see if we can find some tracks, and actually just make sure that we didn't go to the wrong place. There's some more tracks going off-road here, potentially.
Hyena.
Huh?
Hyena up ahead.
There's a hyena up ahead. Let's go and have a look at what that hyena is doing. I'll spot it, Dave. So there's more track marks here. Let's try and spot where that hyena just left to. Where did that hyena go?
Just up ahead.
There you go. So I just saw him go out into the thicket there. Just spotted him, so he's probably got there. You can just see his back there and his tail move. Up to the top left now. Left now. And up. Up, up. Okay, it was in that little hole there. So he's just gone. That's interesting. Why was there a hyena? If there was a hyena here, very well something could have happened last night. And he's moving in that direction, so potentially something's just around the corner there. I'm just going to investigate the scene over here because there is some track marks that are leading off here. So that potentially could have been the spot where Karula came off. I'm just going to look to see in the distance if there are any track marks on the road. Doesn't seem like there is. I really hope she's okay wherever she is with her cubs. Seeing a hyena does worry me though. I'm not going to go off into that thicket to go and see what that hyena was doing until we can confirm that there's nothing over here. But it's a very good chance that the hyenas have dragged that impala kill just on the back there and are slowly feeding on it. Just move it a little bit forward just to see if we can see something. Doesn't look like we can see anything at the moment. I can tell you that if Karula was here and she saw that hyena that just jumped through the road there, she would have definitely reacted to that. Either try to climb the tree with her kill, get her cubs out the way, or she's just not here anymore. So a whole night's we've just been through a whole night. So anything could have happened over the 12 hours that we were sleeping. Can't notice anything out here in the brush. Very curious to go and see what that hyena was doing though. Here's some more vehicle tracks. So this must have been, if you can see here, the tracks are here. The tracks lead here, so my feeling is that this is where she was. And I'm just trying to determine whether there's any sign of a kill around this area. There's definitely no smell of one. And those hyenas have the most incredible scent. They can smell things that have died from distances away. So I'm not surprised that that hyena, what we just saw was a hyena. So let's just go to James quickly while we search for this tortoise.
I see him. I see him.
What do you see?
Karula.
There's Karula, well spotted, Dave. There goes Karula off into the distance there. So we've just found her. Where's she going? What's going on? Well done. Okay, so Karula is around. Well done. Okay, we're going to very slowly go around. She looks like she's gone in the direction of that hyena. This makes me quite nervous. I'm going to turn around and see if we can get another spot. I know exactly which way she would have gone. Well done, Dave. Good spot there, my man. So she's there somewhere. I'm just going to get back onto the side of the road here. This is very interesting behavior that we are seeing. Much different scene unfolding this morning than what we had yesterday with those beautiful cubs just playing in the tree. Which I still haven't had a good visual of, those beautiful cubs. But rather than going bashing into there, so my feeling is that I'm getting at the moment is that we need to stay here. So when I say feelings of nervousness, what I mean is the feelings of not going into the bush and evasing the situation, whatever is going on in there. That is my feeling. So we're just going to sit here and kind of see if we can find Karula or the hyena from this distance rather than going bashing in there. Because we don't want to be that obtrusive and give her position away by following her into that thicket. So we'll just sit here and maybe just hope that something might happen. Well, not something might happen, that she might come out of that thicket safely. Hopefully she's up a tree somewhere down there. Go very, very slowly. Can't see anything for the time being. So she just slinked off into the distance there, but she wasn't going slowly as if she was relaxed. Did you notice that, Dave?
Yeah.
That she moved quite quickly into that thicket. Can't see her through this distance. I'm just looking for that beautiful color of the spotted leopard. Dave, you just got a lot of congratulations for your spotting skills. Well done, Dave. So we're just going to link through to James while we see if we can find anything coming out of the brush here. Let's go and see how James is doing. I think he's with a tortoise.
We've come around and twisted around Bivelshoek Dam and found no sign of the lioness. I am reticent to go wandering into the bush here without some sort of concrete tracks. So I think we'll just drive around a little bit more and then head towards Cheetah Cutline. And I believe Sam linked to our tortoise, which I'm afraid has moved off. Despite their seeming incapability of moving with any speed, the tortoise we were watching did move away with some speed. It was a Speaks-hinged tortoise, and it's just come. The only reason we've seen it was because of the moisture in the air, and I've no doubt it's emerged from a termite mound where they live. They sort of burrow into termite mounds and then go dormant. And they estivate there while there's no water, and then when the water comes, they kind of reverse out of the termite mounds and they go off. And I think that's precisely what that little chap was. There were some lions seen on Torchwood, which of course we can't go into, but that may have been what was calling. It's the male and the female who seem to be mating at the moment. I don't know that they would have been calling, so I don't know who was. But it could have been, it could have been the rest of the Nkuhumas, it could have been one or two of the Birminghams coming through here, who knows. I don't think that lioness who was about to give birth would have been calling either. So we'll do one more turn past the dam and then head off to the eastern cut line, Cheetah cut line, and see perhaps if there aren't any tracks over there. Very nice that you saw the leopard. I do hope that she's managing to defend her cubs, if that's what she's trying to do. I think they're going to be just fine, though. But we'll keep you posted as to what's going on there. There's a Franklin, Jeandre. See how it's lain down in the ground there? It knows we've spotted it, you see, so it's lain down, flattened itself against the ground. Beautifully camouflaged. That is the crested Franklin, and look at the detail on the feathers. Is your eye watching us? Not sure what we want. It does have really beautiful detail in its feathers. And that's one of the first birds you'll hear singing in the morning. Quite a loud, strident call. In the distance, very pleasant though. This bird and the grey-headed sparrow are the first risers. I think this is a young one, otherwise it would have moved off, but it's frozen in the same manner that a steenbok freezes if it thinks it's been spotted. Now seems to be slightly assessing that we're not a threat, so thinking about going off to find some insect or grass seeds to eat. They will eat grass seeds largely if they can, but this time of the year, of course, grass seeds, even insects, are in slightly short supply, so they'll basically eat anything that will give them nutrition at this stage. They'll especially be fond of fossicking about in elephant dung, where there could be termites. Now, Jeandre, is this the best crested Franklin sighting you've ever had in your life?
No.
Not? You've had a better one than this? No. Okay, well, I think it's quite a nice crested Franklin sighting. Jeandre came out this morning, everybody, and said that he had been preparing a number of insults because he feels that when he comes on drive with me, I'm quite nasty to him. Well, he's certainly done very well so far. He has 2 insults to 0. It's early days yet. It's early days. A very nice question from you.
So, welcome back everyone. The rain's starting to come down a little bit more. Karula's gone into the thicket here. Looks like they've just seen something. Hold on 1 second, we're going to reverse. Got another team out here. We're not going into this thicket at all. We're just going to sit on the periphery and have a look to see what we might find within it. We're starting to experience far too much rain right now, so we're going to have to cover up from the rain. So I'll just get hold of Geraldine, if you copy. We're getting way too much rain at the moment. Let's put a cover on. We're going to have to close up the camera now as the rain is coming down. So potentially she's in there just while we wait for a link to get back to James. We're just covering over our camera over here because the rain is starting to come down quite heavily. Dave is standing over his camera. Hopefully. So we're experiencing a lot of rain, so we're just going to have to go into a rain delay and hopefully come back to you in a couple of minutes, half an hour or so. We'll let you know when we're back on air. At the moment the rain's coming down, and this is a good thing actually, because now we're going to have a little bit of water to our dry lands. So we'll see you just now.
Greatest tracker, it would seem, at Juma Private Game Reserve at the moment is a chap called Siberia Zumi. Siberia, we've come to precisely where you said you thought you heard the lions calling. That may have been chance, it may have been wild skill, but there is the Nkuhumas pride, everyone. And we're just at the northern side of Buffelshoek Dam. She's showing a bit of phlegm and grimace there. I will try and get a little bit closer once they've settled, and I think what you'll find, we couldn't see them from the other side because they were in this thicket, and I just thought there's a track that goes down to the northern side of the dam. I thought, quickly, let's try that. Then you lost signal, but luckily, there are the lions. Now, what I'm going to try and do is move in there a little bit closer. You may experience some signal breakup while we move. Then I think once we stop moving, it should be fine. Jerry, you'll just keep us posted, obviously. They seem to be moving up and out of here. They are moving, that's nice. Nice when lions move. Jeandre, sorry, I can't go through here because this one lioness is not moving. She's decided she's tired. Let's just give her a second. She will probably move with the others. Just going to call this in on the radio. Stations located 3 members of the Nkuhumas Pride, northern side of Buffelshoek Dam. Here comes the other one, just around the side of us. They're circling us, Jeandre. Three. So the other female is definitely off mating at Torchwood. Those are the tracks we've just made. Jeandre, I'll move so that we can see her nicely. Yeah. I've now lodged us lodged us on a zebra wood. Anything else behind us? What I'm going to do is stop here, Jeandre. I know it's not the best position in the universe. But if you... I will move for you now. But if you swing round, I don't know if you can see the fat belly. I wonder if that isn't the pregnant lioness. You can see that very, very distended belly there. Now, as we were driving in here, we had a question about possible breech births, and do animals experience birthing difficulties like we do? And the answer is yes, they do, certainly, Sandy. They certainly do. Whether that's going on here, I'm not sure. All right, let me move so that Jeandre has a bit more of a decent picture. We'll go round to the front of this lioness. Go ahead, Mike. Mike is trying to call you, I don't know. There we go. So apparently there's some confusion. Oh, she's calling. Oh, right, now a couple of you are confused. Sorry, Sam linked away to a rain delay. That rain delay was brought about by the fact that, well, firstly, he and I are very far removed from each other. Secondly, he's got the new camera, which is not waterproof. We've got a semi-rainproof camera, so we can film in slightly wetter conditions. So that's why he had to close off. He didn't link straight to us because we, of course, lost signal, which we now have. He's running for home to see if he can't either get another camera or put a cover over the camera that he's currently got. And then they'll head back into that area where they had Karula earlier on. So they're quite active. She seems like she's calling the others a little bit. Now, this is the pink-nosed lioness. And the 5 lions of the Nkuhumas pride are relatively easy to identify. There's quite a lot of pregnancy in this pride, everyone. Okay, we're going to move again. So if the signal does break up, forgive me, but it will clear up again. So we seem to be okay so far. There we go. We'll ease our way up in here. Just a bit of drizzle. And these cameras, of course, there's nothing that electronics hate more than water.
Salty water.
Yes, salty water especially. So we seem to have perfectly good signal where we are now, so that's good. Now we're going to ease our way through here. We will be very close to them, everybody, so whisper when we get close. Say when, Jeandre?
When.
Okay. Right, so this line is on this one here. Who's just walked up here. Not that one. That one is clearly younger than the one who is breathing very heavily on her left-hand side. And she looks very, as Sam said yesterday, very pregnant. Go ahead. No rain. Oof, look at that belly. Cover thanks, Sam. He's just saying it is raining very badly where he is, everyone. Eesh, look at the veins popping out there. I think Sam's absolutely correct that she's about to pop. They haven't eaten. Well, I mean, they may have eaten a small meal last night, but that's not why that's full.
Your arm, James.
Sorry about that, Jeandre. I do apologise. It's 3-0. I can't really move forward well, I can. Jeandre, do you want me to sneak slightly forward?
Oh,
And then my arm will be out of the way and you can get a good look at this pregnant lioness. I think she looks very uncomfortable. I think she looks irritated. I don't blame her. There's blood just between her ears. You see that, Jeandre? Just behind the back left ear. I don't think that's anything particularly serious. But what they have eaten, you know. The other lioness is definitely quite fat, unless she too is just pregnant, but I don't know about that. She doesn't have swollen nipples as far as I can see. But just look how distended her entire back end is. She looks so uncomfortable. The veins are popping out above her spine. And I mean, as you all know, you've seen lions before, you've seen them in these sorts of situations, and you've seen how soundly they sleep. Ooh, look at that. My only worry here, everyone, here comes the other lioness, Jeandre. My only worry here, I think they have eaten, is that distended belly is so very distended, and she's been uncomfortable, I think, for a while. And we were chatting with Sandy about the possibility of some kind of birth difficulty, perhaps a breach of some sort. They're only about 3 feet from us, everybody. This is amazing. They all seem to be a little bit uncomfortable. And she's got the sniffles. She's also got swollen nipples and a fat belly, but nothing like her sister. So Sandy, let's just get back into it. Do animals get breech birth? Yes, they do, absolutely. We know that especially domestic cattle will go into breech. I don't know if there is a genetic component to female animals sort of being more typically prone to breech births. If there is, there's a tick spit, by the way, just sort of stuck in there next to the exposed skin of the swollen nipple there. Sandy, I don't know if there's a genetic component. If there is a genetic component, you'll find that it has been bred out of wild populations. And it would have been bred out by wild populations simply by the fact that those who do have a genetic predisposition to a breech birth obviously won't successfully give birth. But in animals like human beings, of course, where we have doctors, we've got maintained all sorts of maladies and things in our human population where which wouldn't have survived if we didn't have the help of medical care. Now, with something like a lion, they give birth to very small babies, remember. And so unlike an impala, if an impala was in breech, for example, it would be almost impossible. I think it is impossible for them to actually give birth. But for a lioness, if one of the cubs is in breech, I'm not sure that it would be impossible for them to give birth. I don't know for sure. But remember, they're only going to be about that big when they're born. So, what's that, Jeandre? About 20 centimeters long, about 8 inches long when they're born. So, whether that's in breech or not, I don't think it would be impossible. They might not live through a breech birth, but I don't think that it would necessarily be nearly as damaging to the mother or the cubs as it would for, say, a herbivore like an impala, which is proportionately far, far larger than it is in predators. Jim B, you say if the cameras don't like salty water, then I must stop making the cameraman cry.
Fully agree.
Jim B, I can't help it. Sometimes they deserve it. No, look, it's coming here. Jeandre, to the left. Oh, Maggie, what a lovely question, especially in the wake of Mother's Day yesterday. You want to know, do I think that the animals know when they're pregnant or not? She's wondering where I've gone, Jeandre, you see that? I think that... I don't think that they know if they're pregnant. I don't know if there's a conscious thought that says, oh, it's going to be baby time soon. So I do think that it is largely instinctual behavior. That said, we know that when a female gets pregnant, for example, the hormone suite in her body changes completely. The progesterone production increases, and that will induce a different mood. It will induce a different set of emotions and sort of suite of needs. So she'll have different nutritional needs. So while she might not consciously know that she's about to become a mother, she will unconsciously definitely know that her body needs different things, that she needs to eat more, that she needs to exclude herself from the pride at this stage because she's so uncomfortable. I think it's largely then instinct that takes over. But you know, so much of the behavior that we've attributed to animals over the years has been put down to instinct, and slowly that kind of thought that animals are almost completely sort of automatic slaves to their genetics, if you like, that they act entirely on instinct. Slowly that's been broken down. We know that animals feel emotion now. There's no question about it. We know that they're capable of learning. We know that their communication systems are a lot more complex than we ever thought they were, and they probably are a lot more complex than we even think they are today. So it wouldn't surprise me that if one day we're able to speak lion, and I do mean that slightly facetiously, but if one day we're not able to understand animals better, we don't realize that, yes, they do know that they're going to become mothers, that they do know that they're pregnant, and that the sort of suite of emotions and feelings that they have in their bodies, that they don't attach that to actual motherhood. Look at the way that plant is blowing as she exhales onto it. But you can see they're all quite fat-bellied. And so I do think they've eaten something. Now, where is lioness number 5? There's the slightly spotty-nosed one. There is the very heavily pregnant one. Amber Eyes is in Torchwood with her friend, in inverted commas. Somebody called it in on the radio as a honeymoon couple recently. And where is the 5th is what I want to know, because I thought that the three were together and the one pregnant one had sort of gone off on her own. So I don't know where the other one is. You might find that there are 2 of them that are about to give birth. So, Erlene, you're right. You say you thought that when they go off by themselves, it's to give birth, and they give birth on their own, and so therefore why is the whole pride here? Erlene, I don't know why the whole pride's here, but to say that I think they could well have arrived here sort of almost by chance. They've stayed between Amber Eyes and her consort at Torchwood and this female who's been around here. They've never gone very far from them. And I think you'll find that they're just kind of moving in the general vicinity. Buffelshoek Dam's a very good place to come and look for food. Clearly they managed to get something here last night, possibly a nyala, maybe an impala, something like that. And so, although she has kind of excluded herself, she's not done it because she doesn't want to be around the others. it's because she needs to seek out the privacy of a drainage line, try and find a den or a cave or something like that in which she can give birth. That you will find in relative abundance in the sort of network of dry riverbeds and watercourses that flow into Buffelshoek Dam. And I think it's just chance that the others are around here. So that is the three lionesses. Hello, Chris in South Australia. Another lovely one about nature versus nurture, as opposed to, well, sort of instinctual behavior versus learned behavior. And you say, are lionesses, do they learn their mothering skills instinctually, or do they actually learn them? Chris, it's a bit of both. It's a lot of what the nature debate doesn't actually exist anymore. It's far more nature, at least nurture, I think nature via nurture. So you will find that most of what she does is entirely instinctual, but that will have come over years of sort of learned behaviors that, I've no doubt that if this is her first litter, and from her age I doubt it is her first litter, you'll find that second and third litters, I think the experience will result in her having learned different techniques of motherhood that are perhaps more successful than otherwise. But initially, it's entirely instinctual. They don't teach each other anything, these lionesses. They extract from the pride, and for the first 6 weeks, they're on their own completely. Now, that is unlike elephants, as you say, where the mother will give birth within the herd. The herd treats it as a great celebration of activity, and what happens is that, yes, it's a bit like with human beings. There does seem to be some sort of mentorship from older females, and there's so many parallels with elephants and human beings, not so much with the lions. So I think you'll find that what's going on here is almost entirely instinctual. But we do know that lionesses cross-suckle, so that's important, and elephants do the same thing. They're one of the only other species that do cross-suckle, where an unfamiliar female, unrelated female, or distantly related female will act as wet nurse, and they do the same here. But like I say, for the first 6 weeks, those cubs are with their mother only. Jeandre has got himself dressed up. I don't know if you've seen the movie Braveheart, but there's that chap who's got leprosy in it, and Jeandre basically dressed himself up like that. He's covered his nose. Jeandre, is there a reason for that?
Yes.
What is it?
Condensation on the viewfinder, and I can't see your less than beautiful face when I breathe.
I'm going to take you a picture of Jeandre, everybody.
I shan't film it, James.
You will.
I shan't. Look at the lion, James. She's moving.
No, she's not.
She's cuddling herself. It's very cute.
It is actually quite cute. But those ticks look quite nasty, I think. Jeandre, don't be a spoilsport. Come on. Put your thing up. And Paige, you're in Tennessee, and you know that one of the Nkuhuma pride is a sub-adult. I think we can stop calling her a sub-adult now, Paige. You want to know if she's able or not to mate, if she's old enough to mate. I think she certainly is, yes. 2.5 years they're able to mate, and that one I think is probably pushing 3 years now. And although she's definitely smaller than the others, I think sub-adult is she's probably, we can consider her an adult at this stage. She's not pushing 3 years, I'm talking nonsense. I think she's actually only, what is she now? She must be about 2.5. That, everybody, is what I have to deal with.
Feather away, James, out of focus. Thank you.
There we go. You see, he looks like a gangster, actually. Isn't that lovely? So the peace of the morning definitely settling in over these lionesses. Another lovely question from Deborah, armchair traveller. You want to know if there are lionesses in a pride who want to give birth or who are about to give birth together, as there may well be in this pride, or, you know, at the same time. Will they go off together or will they still exclude themselves? I think you'll find that they'll largely exclude themselves. I think that time alone is an instinctual need that they have. I think they might join up a bit sooner than they would otherwise. So in theory, the books will tell you that they will introduce the cubs to the pride at about 6 weeks. You might find that two lionesses who give birth in a similar area might introduce their cubs to each other sort of maybe 3 or 4 weeks in, as opposed to after 6 weeks. So I still think that they will give birth alone, though. I think that kind of need to be hidden, to find a secret place that... Obviously, two lionesses are going to attract the attentions of other predators far more than just one lioness, and I think that's why they extract themselves on their own. But yes, they probably come together a bit sooner if they give birth at the same time. Now, what Jeandre is pointing at there, I'm not sure if it's inadvertent or not, where you can see that fly that's just flown off. All of these lionesses seem to have these, what we think are sort of nodules on their elbows from TB, from bovine tuberculosis. It's not surprising. I'm not convinced it makes a huge difference to the length of, or the longevity of these lionesses, but it does mean that they are carrying bovine tuberculosis, and should they become nutritionally strained, then that disease could take hold. But that is quite interesting. And I think you'll probably find that the babies will be born with it. I think through the amniotic fluid. If I'm not mistaken, it's possible for them to get the bovine tuberculosis. She's so uncomfortable. Can't lie still. Lauren, you want to see if her tummy's moving. You say, do they move? The cubs move around in the womb, or do they just sleep? They definitely move around, Lauren. I'm just not sure we'd see it, especially if she's had a large meal last night. But yes, they will certainly move around. She's covered in all sorts of ectoparasites, isn't she? Flies and ticks. She's also, I mean, she's big. I think she's bigger than the other two. You can see the musculature there in her shoulders. Quite apart from the fact that she's got a distended belly from a large meal and the need to give birth. She's powerfully built. Look at her shoulders. She's so uncomfortable. And I can't remember the veins popping out of her back like that. That doesn't look familiar to me. It's possible that they were there always. But I think there's a huge amount of blood being pumped to that region of her body in preparation. I may be talking absolute nonsense, but I think that's what's going on. The rest of them, very relaxed indeed. I think we should sit here another 10 minutes, everyone, and then I think maybe we should head down. I'm not sure if Sam's going to get mobile again with that camera, but I don't want to let things completely unravel down south where Karula was, and so I think we'll try and head down there and just see if we can't understand what's going on there. In fact, I'm quite tempted to do that now, Jerry, unless there are a vast number of inquiries as to these flat cats. What do you say we press on? Right. Let's head back. let's head down to the south and see if we can find the other cat. Would you like that, Jeandre? It's called comic timing. Much more yours than mine. Okay, Lionesses, good luck, old girl. I hope that everything goes well with you. We shall watch your progress with great enthusiasm. See you later. Sorry, we're just leaving. As you were. Now, you might lose signal again as we go out of here. If you do, I apologize. Lewis, you're in New York and you say, could she be pregnant with 3 or maybe even 4 babies? She could be pregnant with up to 6, Lewis. I think it's unlikely that it's 6, but yeah, 4 is a definite possibility, absolutely. She does look very large, doesn't she? I wonder what they killed here last night. Signal strong so far, everybody. So we should be okay. Quite a thing that we've seen both the cats, of course, today. But it'll be quite a thing if I'm able to see both at the same time. Wouldn't that be nice, Jeandre? Have you seen Karula's cups?
Yeah.
You have?
Yesterday we all saw them.
Yesterday we all saw them, but you haven't filmed them yet.
First to film them.
Oh, you were the first to film them. Okay, I'm so sorry. I was trying to be nice to you there. That will end immediately. Right. We're still okay with rain here. Jeandre has removed his gangster mask. Thank you, Jeandre. Every time I look behind me, I've got a fright. I was watching, everybody, last night, The Jungle Book. Don't ask me how we've got a copy here, because I don't know, but the Rasputin, the Russian, has managed to get it for us somehow. Let's not talk about that, the legality, non-legal, grey area. But it is a fascinating film, in so much as when you spend as much time around animals as you and I do all the time, you get a sense of their movements and how they move. And so all those animated animals are... I found myself loving the story, but just finding that some of the movements were slightly jarring because I found them slightly inaccurate. And I mean, that's not a criticism of the story at all, but it's interesting because the thing that struck me most was when Bagheera, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but you've probably seen the original, when the leopard is jumping from log to log or out of a tree or something like that, the cat moves with an almost impossible lightness. And if you've seen lions moving, or if you've seen a leopard come out of a tree, and Bagheera, of course, is a leopard, and I actually had an experience with a leopard a few days ago where he jumped out of a tree in front of me at about 10 meters away. And he must have jumped from about 3 meters or 10 feet up, and he hit the ground, and the noise he made, the thump, the thud that he made when he hit the ground was profoundly uncat-like. And we expect them to be so totally silent when they land on the ground and slink off. This thing didn't land silently at all. He went thump onto the ground like a sack of potatoes and ran off. And I could hear he's quite a solid leopard, but I could hear his footfalls. I mean, he sounded like not a galloping horse, but not too far off it as he ran away. So I found that slightly incongruous. Anyway, if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor. It's good fun. Gara or Dara in Ohio, you have asked a question and answered it yourself, and your answer is completely correct. You say, would these cubs have a greater chance of survival now that they live out here, and the Birmingham boys have just taken over and impregnated these females, will they have a higher chance of survival? Yes, they will. You always want, if you're a cub, to be born to the new coalition coming in. You don't want to be the second batch of cubs born to that coalition to the same lioness. So, for example, that lioness could give birth in the next few days. When she comes back into estrus, she will be 2 years from now. 2.5 years. Now, the chances are, of course, that those Birmingham boys, although they're quite young, so this might be an exception, but quite often, coalitions of males don't hold territory for longer than 2.5 to 3 years. And so when she comes into estrus again, produces more cubs, those cubs will struggle to make it to a year before the next coalition comes in. And if cubs are under a year old, they'll almost certainly be killed by an incoming coalition. So she's probably got 2 litters to give to the Birmingham boys, but after that, it's very risky business for her to sort of be impregnated by the Birminghams again. That'll be 6 years from now. They'll be pushing 10, which will be round about the time. Well, in fact, they'll be pushing 11. And that's going to be, it's highly likely that they won't last that long. Not because of any deficiencies of theirs, but just because that tends to be how it goes out here. The Majingalan have now been in charge at Londolozi, and or the western sector of the Sabi Sands, for 6 years, 10 years. I left 5 years, 5 or 6 years. That's quite a long time. They're starting to, it looks like, to come to the end of their tenure. They're still very much in charge in the western sector, but I think we're a very large coalition of younger bucks to come in. They'd struggled to maintain their territory. So they've been in charge, as far as I'm aware, since sort of mid-2010. So it's, 6 years now. The guys that came before them, the Mapojos, they didn't last longer than 2 years, 3 years. Mobile Paddy, a nice question from you about would a female cub in a lion pride be preferred because of the longevity of the pride and the sort of contribution she will make to the pride. I don't know that she'd be preferred, Mobile Paddy, by the parenting. I think you'll find that her chances of survival are much higher. I think something crazy like 10%, 1 in 10 male lions will actually make it to adulthood. I think the proportion is much higher for females. There have been elephants around here very recently. The proportion for females is definitely higher because they stay within the protection of the pride. We've picked something up in our wheels, haven't we, Jeandre? In the brakes. Just go back slightly. I think we should have got rid of it. Let me just make sure that I'm listening to the game drive radio and I know what's going on. Oh! There's a very large elephant. A large elephant bull. That's marvelous. Now what we want to do is assess his behavior, and you want to sniff the air. Jeandre, sniff the air. I meant sniff the air, I didn't mean sort of clear or sinuses. And what we're smelling for, everybody, is the sweet leather smell of must. I don't smell it at the moment, so maybe he's not in must. And the reason we smell for that, of course, is that an elephant bull is likely to be, slightly more easily irritated if he's in must. This chap looks to be very relaxed with us at the moment, so we'll just sit here and have a look at him for a while. Just feeding quietly and already onto their winter forage. Not attempting to eat any grasses anymore. And I think you'll find that they've moved on to that winter forage earlier than they would have if we'd had good rains this year. Just excuse the noise. Just moving the rain cover so I can see the monitor. So I know what you're looking at. If Jeandre decides to film a piece of stick or something, I can see that. You never know with him. Unpredictable. So he's probably, he's not quite as large as the one we had here the other day, or close by, but I'd say he's about 10 feet at the shoulder there. His head, I mean, his head is the size of a small car. Maybe not quite that big. He's sort of half the size of a Mini is his head. And he, of course, weighs 6,000 kilograms. And that is about 13 or 14,000 pounds. That is a lot of elephant. And to keep that vast body going, he has got to devour probably up to 300 kilograms, 660 pounds of food in a day. Now you can imagine, with a population in excess of 15,000 elephants in the Kruger National Park, you can imagine if that population was to crash for some reason, the change in the vegetation shape, in the species, in the height, in the thickness of the bush, would change almost be almost unrecognizable within, say, 3 or 4 years, and make an enormous difference to the shape of the vegetation to the elephants, and that's why they're known as a keystone species. There's the smell, Jeandre. You may now clear your sinuses again. And smell that. He's definitely a must. But he seems pretty relaxed with us. Let's move a little bit forward. We want to remain with him very relaxed with us. He immediately turned when I started the engine. I'm just trying to also give you a size comparison here. If I was standing underneath his tail, so if he were to lift his tail, if I reached up with my hands, I might just about be able to touch the underside of his tail there, where he's wagging it from.
I think you wouldn't reach if you didn't lift it.
That's not a question of whether he lifts it or not, it's a question of how tall I am, Jeandre. So if I stood behind him, I could touch the top of his tail, I think, if I lifted my hand up. What do you think, Jeandre? Do you think you might be able to do that and I wouldn't?
Quite so.
I mean, you think I just tickle his ankles?
Maybe his toenails.
Now, it's pungent now, that leathery smell. Sweet. Sickly sweet, leathery smell. So he will be in search of a herd with an estrus female. Samuel is now trying to hail me on the radio. Hold on a second. Go ahead. I'm sitting with an elephant bull on Drakensberger Road, just coming across him. Animal is static at the moment, close to Junction Central. We're going to head down towards the south. Now you go for it, I'll just come give you a hand if she's not visible. Right, let's go a little bit forward. Sam's going to go down back towards Karula. He is getting mobile again. We're going to go and give him a hand, just in case she's moved, and she might take a bit of tracking. But we're not going to sort of rush down there. We'll move down slowly. Let's have another quick look at this elephant. Lovely. You see him streaming from his temporal glands. Those are the glands between his eyes and his ears. And that's just an indication of slight stress. And that's probably brought on by the immense volume of testosterone coursing through his veins as a result of his must. Must call in on the radio that I left those lions where they were. Stations, I have left the 3 Nkuhumas lionesses north of Buffelshoek Dam. Best approach is to come either from Buffelshoek West and go through the drainage line up to the top, and just follow the tracks. Otherwise you can come on that track that goes from the fire break. Animals were static. And then crunching, I don't know if you can hear it. Those big molars of his, he's got probably 4.5 giant molars in his jaws, and he's crunching away at the wood. Lily, you're interested in how long they stay in must. It can be anything from a few days up to, apparently, I have read almost a year. I've never seen an elephant bull that's been in must for that long, but apparently it can last almost a year in the very old ones. So it tends to the period of must tends to increase the older that they get. This chap is probably about 35 to 40 years old, I'd say, and so I imagine his must would probably last about a month or so. He's very relaxed actually, he's completely chilled out. Listen to the quietness of his feeding. James Richard, a sort of nice, astute question from you, because it's a difficult one to answer, sort of with a glib one-liner. Yeah, excuse me. A lack of oxygen, not a lack of sleep. Grief, completely unable to stop that. I wonder what happened there. Plummeting of the blood pressure for some reason. James Richard, how physically taxing, you say, is it for an elephant bull to be in must? Well, it can be taxing from different physical levels. Physiologically, I think it is quite taxing. They lose nutrients, they lose a lot of water through this dripping of the urine. And the reason they drip the urine must be a signal, A, to other bulls, and B, to the females that he is in must. So I think it's an essential part of being in must. Then, as far as other physical effects go, well, of course he is likely to fight with other bulls. If he comes into a herd, there is an estrus female and there's another must bull. He is highly likely then to have a fight. And so that can be certainly physically taxing and can result in elephant bulls killing each other. It's not usual, but it does happen every so often. So from a physical point of view, that's what it is. I think you'll find that the major physical taxing is the physiological one, where he loses it's expensive to produce the testosterone, it's expensive to produce that urine constantly, and so he must constantly kind of replenish the nutrients and the water that he loses. I couldn't actually give you a number for how physically taxing it is, but I have read once that dripping urine can sort of, can be up to 150 litres in a day. Now, I'm not convinced that that's entirely true, but 150 litres is 30 gallons, and that's a huge amount of urine to be losing in one day. He's totally peaceful. Doves are calling around him. He's flapping his ears just to get rid of the flies. And he's eating everything he can find. And here a question about maturity from Jason. I'm just sort of making parallels with human beings here again. Do I think that they manage must more easily as they get older? Management as in their attitudes to life, possibly. Certainly older must bulls that I've seen are much less likely to get cantankerous and much less likely to turn around and chase you for no reason. Young must bulls, sort of 25 to 35 years old, are often a little bit more ornery, a little bit more likely to give you a bit of a rev. So I suppose they maybe deal with the emotion of it a bit better as they get older. They don't physiologically manage it. I think that's purely probably a function of their nutritional status and probably also some kind of genetic component to how long they stay in must for and how they manage it. So, yeah, that's quite a nice question. I'm just, with human beings, it's the same. Men of 18, 19, 20 years old are far more likely to get into some kind of physical conflict with other men. One hesitates to call a man a must bull, but you know what I mean, than men who are a bit older. They're likely to negotiate their way out of a problem rather than punch their way out of it. Not so, Jeandre. Okay, you just film the elephant. Let's just go around the corner here, and then Zoe, I'll answer your question. It's actually quite a pleasant smell, that musty smell, if you're used to it. But it is very pungent. He's very close now, so we're just going to keep a good eye out on how he feels. His mood can change very quickly, especially these must bulls. Zoe, you say what age they first come into must and what age do the females first come into estrus? The females can come into estrus from 9 years old. Sometimes they have youngsters at about 9. They get pregnant when they're 9, and then they'll have the youngsters when they're just about 11. It's unusual, but it does happen. The males will come into their first estrus probably around 17 or 18 years, not estrus must, but that will last a very short time. And as they get older, so that period will increase. So in theory, they're sort of sexually mature by the time they're between 17 and 20 years old. But they will seldom mate, apparently, especially in the Kruger area, before they are about 30. Just because they simply don't have the mass to fight off the other big bulls when they do come across a female in estrus. You see that notch at the end of his tusk there? He's using that to break off the branches. He's probably got one on the other tusk as well. He's quite ambitusktrous, this chap. He likes his left and right tusk, but he's clearly almost right tusked. That tusk has been used much more than the other one to break off trees, but I see there is a notch in both of them. He's eating what would be an encroacher species, a zebra would, Dalbergia melanoxylon, and without elephants eating them, they would take over vast areas. And you can see the effect he's having on the tree. It's changing its shape completely. In some areas where there are no elephants, they grow into big trees that you can kind of make furniture out of, but not in this area. In this area, the elephants keep them at around about this height. Now, if you watch him carefully, you can get in there on his trunk there. If you don't mind, Jeandre. Sorry. He's just broken that branch off by wedging it between his tusk and his trunk. And so those tusks, quite apart from being rather impressive, sort of appendages to the front of his face, are crucial in feeding. And while a tuskless elephant can certainly survive, one with tusks certainly finds life easier, and one with tusks this length, rather than those vast, you see these pictures of those vast tuskers where the tusks almost reach down to the ground. I think those are probably more an encumbrance than they are a help. There you can see him using it, just wedging the tusks in there, snapping the branch off. Laura, I don't actually know the answer to your question. You want to know what the temporal liquid is that Jeandre is showing you there between his eye and his ear that's coming out of that gland. Laura, it's a hormone, I think. And so it's not like a tear, no. I don't think it's like a tear. But what it is exactly and what it communicates, I don't know. I think you'll probably find that it has a scent of some kind that other elephants can pick up on, so they know if they are, they can tell if they are stressed. Listen to that flapping of the ears. Now he's got both his tusks are notched, so he's definitely ambidextrous. You didn't know that was a word, do you, Jeandre? Often you find elephants with only one notch. You don't find them both notched. Maybe this guy's just quite vain, so he's made sure that the wearing is the same. Trying to eat a little bit of grass. The grass is so much easier to eat than the trees. And he's now only about 10 meters from us. That's about 33 feet. We'll just sit here quietly. He's now watching us. He's now deciding whether we're entertaining or in irritation, or whether he must walk past the front of us or what he must do. But he's certainly giving no indication of being threatened at all at this stage. He is a truly impressive elephant. Oh. And the heart rate always goes up a little when you're sitting with an elephant like this. Okay, back to the great Queen of Juma with Sam.
Welcome back, everyone. We are sitting outside close to the road here, and we can see Karula, and she's looking at a hyena, as you can see in the distance there. So this is quite a scene that's unfolding here. It doesn't look like there's a kill close to Karula there. I think the kill is with the hyenas just to the front there. Here goes Karula. She's going off into the distance here. Just going to slowly keep on the pace of where we are. Standing, we are right by the road here. There goes Karula. Let's have a look and see where those hyenas are. The hyenas are there. climbing up a tree now. There, her kill's in the tree. There she is.
Hold it there.
Alright, so just gonna have a chat on the game drive vehicle. Stations I've located on Karula. She's up a marula tree, close to where her kill was last. There is a hyena just beneath the tree, and there are no sign of the cubs at the moment. Mike, if you're interested to come in, come in. Wow, so this has been very, very interesting. Let's have a look. Here it is up in the tree with her kill, and there's a hyena just beneath this marula tree. So what might have happened is when we drove earlier, we just saw that hyena run into this area. So it's cool to see that she has been able to hoist that kill up into a tree. We weren't sure if she was going to be able to lift it up there. She's managed to do so. Let's see if we can see the cubs. We're going to look around in all the different trees to see if there's anything moving. Here she comes. Beautiful. There she lies with her kill in the background, and the hyena's just been below. So she looks quite relaxed. She was lying on the ground. It was interesting to see that she was on the ground a little bit earlier, looking at the hyena. And she wasn't in the tree. It was interesting to see that. So we are happy that we have found her again. Question is, I'm just going to get my binoculars out and search the tree line just to see where those cubs might be. Okay. So those cubs, I don't think would be able to climb the tree that the mother's in at the moment. So they might just be in another thicket of one of the trees. So I'm just looking all around us to see if there's any movement in the bushes. Doesn't seem to be any movement out here. So no sign of the cubs. Just a sign of a very hungry hyena beneath the tree. Just seems to be one of them, but I definitely saw two. As we were approaching along the road, we noticed that there were two hyenas that were running through the thicket. So we can just see one there at the moment. It's fascinating to see how a hyena will wait beneath this tree until finally it can get something to eat. So I'm very, very happy to see that she has managed to hoist this. Well done, Karula. I'm still yet to meet your cubs properly. I hope they are doing fine wherever they are, out in the bushveld there. I'm sure they would have run away when the hyenas came. But she is resting now. She looks fairly calm with the impala kill. It looks like there's still quite a bit left of that kill. Right, probably around 5/10 of the kill is still there. at how dramatically things have changed from yesterday when we were just sitting looking at the cubs playing in the trees. Just shows you how careful a mother needs to be out here in the bush at night time, because there are other animals with different interests. So that must have been quite a tree to hoist. Have a look from the bottom of the tree all the way to the top. There's not much room to go up on other branches until the one she's in. So that's a very, very well done display. I wonder how she did that. I mean, it's a very, very long way. There must be about a couple meters there. Around 5 meters, would you say, Dave? 5, 6 meters, carrying 5/10 of a kill up a tree. It's a strong feat. So I wonder what actually happened when the sound of those hyenas came in the evening, because we had a report that she was still with her kill at around 7 o'clock last night. So it might have been in the early hours of this morning that she hoisted the kill when the sound of those hyenas came from the distance. They look very, very relaxed there. I'm just going to drive a little bit around there to see if we can see if there are any other hyenas. And then we'll come back to this position. Just want to get on the radio quickly. Mike, do you copy Mike? Mike, we've just located Karula up a marula tree with 2 hyenas that are below, not far from where we were yesterday. Copy, Mike. Are you going to make your way? Copy, Mike. We're just going to have a look out for the cubs that might be in the bushes or the brush somewhere here as well. For the time being, Mike, just to make sure that the cubs are okay. So, you see 2 hyenas there now?
Only one.
We're not going to go any further in. I mean, so another game ranger was here, and you can quite clearly see he was here. You didn't quite see Karula up in the tree there at the kill. So there has been someone driving in, and they didn't see the cubs anyway. But I'm reluctant to go in here. I think it's better if we just sit outside on the outskirts and just watch our beautiful Karula. The likelihood is that the cubs are off far away from the site, up in a little tree or wherever they are, and they'll be safe. So if we just sit here with Queen Karula up in a tree with that kill, it's quite a nice sight that we have of her now with her legs down the side. She looks fairly comfortable with her kill up there. You can quite clearly see now how difficult that must have been to climb that tree. I can still only see 1 hyena. I'll just get my binoculars and see if there's 2. There's just the one hyena that's sitting beneath. So I had Mike just said over the radio that he did find a hyena on some of the kill. So there must have been some of the kill down here. So before she carried it up the tree. But I'm just looking at her stomach from a distance and she looks very full. So she's definitely fed well, Karula. It's great to see how comfortable she is in the tree there with her legs just dangling like that. Very cool picture of you, Karula. And look at those paws. Very cool to see that. If you're driving in the bush and you just see a tail or legs coming off a tree, it's a great thing to see. It's not often you get to see that. I've only ever had it once where I was driving and I just saw this flick of a tail coming off a branch of a tree. Just have a look at that kill there. The kill does look like there's quite a lot of skin left if you have a look at that. You can just see the horns there of that male impala. So it's quite interesting. It's still quite in the middle of the rutting season at the moment. The new moon in May is generally when they are at the peak of it. And so that male impala must have been very either quite tired or just distracted between the other males in the bachelor groups or the harem. So often at this time of year you'll find that male impalas will be killed. They're not as aware as they normally are. So she's managed to kill a very, very strong and big impala, which is great to see. She's a very powerful, strong cat, Karula. Can't hear the sound of anything else except for a fish eagle in the distance. She looks very tired though, up in that tree. So I'll just talk to you about what we saw. We came here earlier and we spotted a hyena just running into the thicket. And then straight after spotting it, Dave, very well done, spotted Karula. She was sneaking through the bush there, and then it started to rain quite a lot. So we had to go back to camp for a half an hour or so. And then we came back here, and we just drove slowly along this thicket, and we just saw two rather large hyenas running into the distance. And then I spotted Karula just moving slowly through there. We spotted her, and then she jumped up this tree to her kill. So it was a very, very cool sighting with the Queen Karula. So the hyena's just lifted its head. So both these animals are nocturnal animals. They normally are quite flat during the day. It's interesting to see them interacting with each other during the day. It's not something you often see. But so my feelings are that that the hyena... Ooh, no, Karula. The hyena will... Sorry, Karula just got a little fright there. I don't know why. So, I'm just wondering whether this hyena will be here all day or not. I think this hyena won't get bored because it's too much of a lure to see a nice looking impala up a tree. The best chance of getting something to eat is just sleeping underneath it. It doesn't have to do too much. Just needs to lie there. So I think this hyena will be here for the majority of the day. While Queen Karula looks after the rest of her kill. So Nemo is interested to know if this is the same kill that we saw yesterday morning and last night. Nemo, this is the same kill that we saw. It's quite a lot of it has been eaten. It's the last little bit of that kill that Karula's got up in the tree. She hasn't moved much in the last 2 to 3 days. 2 days. She's been with this kill. And Nemo, we were with the cubs yesterday, as you would have seen. The cubs were here, around Karula. And now we've come back and the scene has changed dramatically. But we did wonder this last night, what it would look like when we got back here this morning, because it was quite a large impala. And the chance of it not being seen by a hyena would have been quite not possible, really. Hyenas have such great scent and smell. So they're able to pick up on any scent in the distance of a kill of any kind. So they would have moved around here. We actually saw hyena tracks as we were driving here this morning, and I was thinking something's been going on at the kill site with Karula. Elaine is interested in whether Karula will eat the skin or just leave it. A lot of the time they just leave the skin and they just eat the meat inside, but sometimes they do. Often when you find leopard dung, you'll find that there is fur in the dung, which will come from kills. It's mainly with the smaller animals that they'll eat most of it. It's a good question, Elaine. Because what we can see on the kill at the moment is quite a bit of skin there that's been left untouched. But I think, just looking and observing it from here, the skin really helps the kill to stay intact. So it's almost in her best interest to keep the skin intact, so she's able to move it around and be mobile with that kill. I'm still flabbergasted is the word, that she was able to carry that kill up that tree. It must have been quite light if she was able to carry it all the way up that tree. It's incredible how leopards can do that. Very, very powerful cat. Much stronger than that of a cheetah. Cheetah you won't find up a tree like we are seeing with a leopard. Sometimes you'll see a cheetah standing on an old tree that's fallen down, looking out into the distance to see if it can see anything. So with cheetah, you often find them on termite mounds and all sorts of vantage points to just get a brief look over the area. But we also find leopards on top of termite mounds. I was told that James found the Nkuhumas pride this morning. So we've had quite a morning of cats. And we had an incredible sighting of the elephants on the way here this morning. just saw the first part of the breeding herd come through, and we watched it, and then about 40 elephants were surrounding us. It was a great few moments that we had. And it's been quite, I mean, we spoke about it last night. We spoke about, over the fireside chat, we spoke about the role of the mother hyena, the role of the leopard, as Karula is, and the role of the elephants. So in the space of 2 hours, we've seen all three of those animals that we were talking about last night. They all have a different way in which they live out here in the bush and protect their young. Something that struck me last night was what James was talking about when a leopard loses its cubs, and how it won't really put itself in the face of danger before protecting their cubs. But an elephant would do that at some stages. This is all in terms of survival instincts out here, the way in which they interact. It makes sense when you start to think about it, though, so that the survival rate of cubs is much lower than, you know, having a nice, or having Karula out there who's able to mate with other leopards. But I'm sure the two young cubs are doing fine somewhere out in the thicket there. She looks fairly relaxed and heavy up in that tree. And the hyena seems fairly anxious for some food at the bottom of the tree. I wonder if James was with that female this morning that was looking pregnant. While we sit here and observe some of the things that are happening here with the hyena and Karula, let's just go and see how James is doing, and if anything happens, we'll come back straight away.
Hello everybody, very good news that the Karula's there. Not such good news that the cubs aren't around, but hopefully they'll pitch up at some stage, preferably when the thieving, pilfering hyenas are not there anymore. Just have a quick look here. An elephant has come past, probably much the same size as the big one that we saw earlier on, and he's pulled down pieces of this marula tree, and I climbed a marula tree the other day in order to demonstrate, well, not in order to demonstrate anything, but just to show how far away the limbs are from the ground. And elephants don't often eat marula leaves, and it's one of the reasons that these trees are able to survive. They don't have very hard wood, and an elephant can push them over at a moment's notice. So I'm quite surprised that an elephant has taken the time here to break off a fairly large limb and then deposit it on the ground. You can see very few of the leaves there have actually been sampled at all. Now, I sometimes think elephants just push things over because they feel frustrated with life. And apparently Jamie stood underneath there to give you a size comparison of how tall that is. That is amazing. It's probably about 15 feet up. Jamie, of course, is not a totally dissimilar size to mine, so I shan't do the same thing. Shut up, Jeandre. Take pictures. Be quiet. Hello, Dendrogramma. You're a new viewer, and it's lovely to have you with us. I hope we're saying your name correctly, Dendrogramma. You want to know how long the longest coalition of male lions I know of was in power. Those Majinga lions are pretty close. There was one male lion at Londolozi who I think remained in charge for about 6 years. His name was Big Black, and that for a single male lion to have been in charge for that length of time is absolutely astounding. He was a huge, huge animal though, and he was not known for his gentle disposition. Apparently tracking him was something of a terrifying experience at the time. Then the Majingis have been there now, well, I think it's probably 5.5 years. That's quite a lot in the western sectors of the Sabi Sands. There was a group of males called the Sparta males, also around Londolozi. I mean, this is only because I know these areas. I only know these areas because I was around them. And they were in charge also until they were old. They were 17, I think, when they were finally excluded eventually by, I forget who exactly it was that excluded them. And I think they must have been in charge for nigh on 10 years. So that is a very long time. Jeandre, there's a bateleur flying right there. Well spotted, well done. I do mean that almost genuinely. The way he flies, the juvenile bateleur, you can see that from the length of the tail, but the flight, the way they flap their wings is so distinctive. Very shallow wing beats. Oh, he's got an itchy chin. You see that, Jeandre? That's bizarre. Just reached forward with his claws there and seemed to give himself a bit of a scratch. And interestingly, one of the birds that can actually feed on the wing like that is the eastern red-footed kestrel or the Amur falcon. And they fly around and they'll catch a termite alate in the air with their feet, put it into the mouth and then keep flying. It's still there, Jeandre, but don't worry, we'll carry on to something else. The big grey cloud you could see there where the bateleur was flying. It's coming closer. And I can't tell if this is a male or a female at this stage. Too young, probably a male, given the fact that they're large, the leading edge is almost entirely black. And that bird's probably about 4 or 5 years old. Still in juvenile plumage. A bateleur, a long-lived bird, probably 25 years they can live. I love watching a bateleur fly. I think they're the most incredible birds. Right here. We'll get a view here of the front, sitting nestled over the Bushbuck Ridge region. Just going to turn the car off and ease our way down the road here. Like I've said to you many times, I can't wait till we have an electric vehicle that we can drive this quietness. Oh, Rava in Tucson. A lovely question, and it's even lovelier because I actually know the answer to this one. Rava, you want to know what is the evolutionary advantage to a bateleur having a super short tail? I shall tell you. We're just going to stop here so that Jeandre can show you a picture of where the clouds have settled over the foothills of the Drakensberg and up into Bushbuck Ridge, which is the local municipal area. The other side of those knolls. You know what a knoll is, do you, Jeandre? Rava, a bateleur has got a short tail because it wants to reduce drag. One of the big things that a bird or any flying thing has to overcome is drag, because the more drag you have, the more thrust you need to keep in the air. Bird of the long tail has generally got a huge amount of drag, but it is also able to steer more easily and balance more easily. So why then, the question is, would the bateleur want to have so much less drag than any other bird? And what you notice is that they fly probably not much more than 100 feet above the earth. And they fly much earlier than the vultures. You won't find a vulture flying in this kind of environment at all. You will find it's just heated up slightly since we started. Bateleurs will take off, and they fly close to the ground. What have you got there, Jeandre? What else spotted? Still there. Going back to the same. No, it's not. That was a little bee eater, everyone. So why do they want to fly low to the ground? What would the point be? Well, they're scavengers, rather, which means that they're competing with things like tawny eagles and vultures. Now, if they fly low to the ground, they're able to get to carcasses before anyone else gets to carcasses. And so that's why they do it. And how having a short tail helps you in this pursuit. There's a black-headed oriole. You can hear them calling. Toot, toot, toot. Lovely liquid call around us. But having no tail, rather, what it allows is that reduction in drag means that the bird can stay airborne with minimal fuss very close to the ground, which a vulture cannot, and nor can many of the eagles. Very nice question. But the trade-off is that it is extremely difficult to balance. And you saw that that bird there had a tail sort of about, probably about 6 inches long, and because it's so difficult to balance, that they're born with a decent length tail, and each molt, each year, it becomes slightly shorter until they're about 7 years old, when the tail is completely gone, and you'll see them flying like that. Right, let's go back and check what Karula's doing. I think she's very restfully snoozing in her tree, but maybe the cubs will pitch up at some stage.
Karula is fast asleep in the tree. We've just got a beautiful angle of her as she rests up here, and she's sleeping quite funnily up. She's got her legs dangling between the two different branches. It looks very cool, with her kill just next to her. She looks very strangely comfortable. I can kind of understand. Maybe for a cat that looks very comfortable, I wouldn't be able to find comfort in that position. But she looks very full. You could actually have a look at that. Look at that stomach. It looks like she's eaten quite a bit over the last couple hours. You quite clearly see the rosettes. Those golden rosettes of Karula. Beautiful. She is a stunning leopard. This is I think my second time with her. So I'm very, very excited to see her. Of course, I would like to have seen the cubs with her, but would rather them be safe wherever they are, hiding in the thickets, as she sleeps with the last bit of her kill. The hyena is still below us. He's sleeping quite gracefully underneath the tree, waiting for any movement of Karula as she tries to eat any of her kill. But she looks very, very tired over there, comfortable and tired. Let's have a look at the kill while we're also on this position. The kill's just next to her, and you can just see the hooves. There's the hoof, so it really isn't much left of this kill. I can just see the neck that is still quite prominent there. But at least now we can see how big this impala was just by looking at the size of those horns. So it was a fully grown male impala. It's very, very impressive of Karula. I Still yet to meet Shadow, who I haven't met out here. I'm sure I'll meet her sometime soon. There she is, right by it. She's not going anywhere. She'll most likely be up in this marula tree for most of the day. It was so cool to see her climbing that tree. Just while we're at this position, have a look at the tree and the size of it. Very, very impressive Karula. Very, very impressive. Sorry about my cap there. Just see the top of my cap, and I think in screen you can also see the shot of the hyena, which is just there. Looking also fairly full and tired. I just want to get on the road here. Mike, do you copy Mike? I'm still here at the sighting of Karula. She's up in a marula tree sleeping with her kill and a hyena below. If you're wanting to make your way, please come. Okay, copy. When I hear your vehicle coming in, we'll move out. So we've got another vehicle coming through. So we've just made this a one vehicle sighting, just because we're not too sure where the cubs are, and if they are close by, it's important not to make have too many people here. And we've checked the scene out. We're sitting right by, close to the road, so we are viewing from a safe distance where the hyena is just below. And I'm sure quite a few other people would like to see how Karula's doing this morning, so other vehicles are making their way here now. Also quite curious to know, ooh, that looks like she's stretching. Good morning, Deborah, armchair traveller. You would like to know if there's one or two hyenas here. Deborah, when we first came, I just saw the one hyena. Oh, sorry, I saw the two hyenas. So two hyenas were walking through this thicket, definitely two. And now I can only observe one, so I'm not sure where the other one went to. The other one could be sleeping around the thickets here somewhere. Also just waiting for some sort of action to occur. So I'm just having a look around as we speak. It doesn't seem to be anywhere close by. But at the moment there's just the one hyena close to the tree, and Karula and her kill. There she is. So she just got up and stretched a little bit, or I think she might have actually just tried to get in a better position. Her stomach looks very large there. So cool to see her like this. Actually a perfectly angled marula tree for her to have her kill just to the left there, and to have her little sleeping place not so far away. So I'm going to start making my descent out of here, just as there's another vehicle that'll be here in the next 5 minutes. And let's just have a look. Looks like there's some thick grey clouds just above the marula tree, so it could very well rain here today, which is exciting. And as I said that, I felt a few drops on my face. So we have had a fantastic morning with Karula, just having a look to see how she's doing, sitting up in a tree with her kill and a hyena below. Hopefully the cubs are okay wherever they are, in the thick bush, hiding. And we'll come back this afternoon to see how she's doing. We're going to leave the sighting now. We'll see you just now.
Hello everybody, I'm just lying here with my new friend, Gerald, the leopard tortoise. Gerald has emerged from his winter slumberings because there is moisture. And I mentioned that the Speaks Hinge tortoise we saw earlier, which you didn't see, I'm afraid, you were watching a leopard, had come out because of the rain. And this enormous example of a leopard tortoise has come out because of the moisture. And like I said before, they estivate, they don't hibernate, which means that their limiting factor is not temperature, as it is with many reptiles in cooler areas. It is the moisture. He is an absolutely enormous example of a leopard tortoise for this area. Why are you looking at me like that for?
When I called it massive, you said, no, it's not.
Yes, but I was unsighted from the vehicle. It's unbelievable. I have to work with. Anyway, he is very large. I'm just going to turn him round so you can see his full extent. I'm not going to pick him up fully. But there he is. He's about a foot long, I guess. And he probably weighs about 10 pounds, which is quite impressive. And he will be looking to just eat some of these fresh shoots of grass that will come out as a result of the rain. And that is one of the only species we get here. Of course, only two tortoise species. This, the leopard tortoise, and the Speaks Hinge tortoise. Now, this chap is probably, I'm told they can live up to more than 100 years old. I don't know how old he is, but in this area, this is pretty much as big as they get. In the Eastern Cape, they get up to about that size, so almost double the size of Gerald here. But here, about this age, and so I'm going to guess that he's probably close on a century old. Isn't that impressive? Well done, old man. See you later. He might stick his head out. I'll turn him back towards you while I climb back in the car. Is he sticking his head out, Jeandre? Or is he so offended by me that he hasn't bothered?
Exactly.
I think it's probably you he's offended by. Now, we're often asked the difference between a tortoise and a terrapin, and we saw the terrapin on top of the hippo today. And they are very different. And you can see from this one that he's pulled his head into his shell, and he's closed his legs around his head. A terrapin does the opposite. Well, not the opposite, but it kind of folds its legs backwards, and then it turns its head, and so that it keeps one eye sort of looking out of the shell. What now?
Swallowed a cough.
And he swallowed a cough. You must see the facial expressions. I mean, if you look at him while trying to deliver some kind of biological treatise, it's almost impossible to continue speaking. Such are the astonishing array of facial expressions that he pulls behind the camera.
Not to disturb you on the time.
I'm going to drive you through a Sisyphus bush now. I've had enough. I was investigating I was studying some reptile stuff yesterday because we found that striped skink the other day, and I had no idea what it was, well, what it was or anything about its biology. And so I looked into the general reptiles of the area, and it's surprising how few we have in comparison, I suppose, with the birds. For example, 7 kinds of skinks, only 5 kinds of old world lizards, 2 kinds of monitors, 2 kinds of agamas, and just the 2 kinds of tortoises. There are quite a few snakes as well, but I mean, I almost consider them in a different class. They aren't, but one tends to. So we're not blessed with that many reptiles here. And that, of course, is that the largest? Well, other than a crocodile that comes into the area, certainly one of the heaviest. even as the winter progresses, they will come out in the rain. Monkeys. Just going to quickly stop here while I try and answer James. Look at this. Very confidingly sitting there. Doesn't feel threatened by us at all. There are a whole lot behind him as well. James, nice question from you. A difficult one. The sexual dimorphism between the bateleurs is subtle, as you say. There's just a slight sort of difference in amount of black that there is on the underwing. Look, eating them. That's fascinating. Doing exactly what a bush baby does, eating the bark, not the bark, the gum, the acacia gum. Very nutritious. I've never seen that before. That's brilliant. Isn't that fascinating? And we've tasted that bark. I don't know that we've had flaky thorn. Jeandre, I think I've given you... I think we decided that the red thorn was the best tasting. I don't think we've had flaky thorn. We'll have to definitely try some now. And that bark was opened up, not by that monkey, but by a buffalo that was rubbing his horns on the tree. James, I'll get back to your question now. Let's just watch these monkeys for now. And we'll try and find some other flaky thorn bark and just try and taste it. What a lovely monkey sighting. Very nice. Okay, so James, you want to know why it's such a subtle difference. So if you look at something like a sunbird, the male is noticeably a different color from the female, and why the subtle difference? James, I think that it's got not a huge amount to do with... I think we're looking at it the wrong way. I don't think it's the subtlety that's necessarily that important. There is some kind of sexual dimorphism, and the question is, why should there be any sexual dimorphism? And in the case of the bateleur, one can only assume that there must be some kind of indicator that it's of fitness maybe, or I don't actually know. There's a huge herd of zebra here, which I'm quite glad of, because I don't really know how to answer your question, James. And I'm going to think about it while you look at these zebra. There are two herds or two different kinship groups of zebra here, and I've been trying to get to a herd of buffalo that Geraldine informed me of, sitting down at the Dumadam Pan, but unfortunately we keep finding interesting things to look at. I can hear them going over the top of the hill. We're just coming on to quarantine clearings now. Isn't that lovely? Zebra managed to look good, I find, in any light. It's quite glum today. So, James, I don't know. I can't answer your question. Why should they be so subtly different from each other? So you've got something like a lilac-breasted roller, which is very coloured. It's very expensive to make that colour, but both male and female are the same colour. Why should they be that colour? What possible advantage could there be? That sound, you can hear that. Doo, 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 is a bateleur calling. Oh, I can actually see it. It might not be a bateleur, but it is a large raptor. Can you see it, Jeandre? It's a tawny eagle. We'll get a better look there. Oh, well done, you got him. Well done. Tawny eagle, everyone. That's what was going. Doo, doo, doo. So I need to do a bit of research into the colours of birds and why they've evolved these strange colours. It's very obvious when there is sexual dimorphism, like with the sunbirds. where the males are, or peacocks, for example, where the males' colours have been sexually selected to become more and more vibrant over the generations. But with the bateleur and with the lilac-breasted roller and all the bee-eaters, I don't know what the answer is. At the moment, to my mind, and this is simply because I am ill-informed in this regard, it is simply nature's way of providing colour. That's not a very satisfactory answer, James, so I shall do some research. Very nice herd of zebras. Okay, let's move on from them. We'll have a quick look at the tawny eagle. We don't have a huge amount of time left on the drive, and then we'll try and get a quick look at those beefaloes. A squall coming in that Sam is also stuck in at the moment. You can see it's getting noticeably glummer as we go. I'm sure we'll get to the end of the drive, though. Hold on tight, Jeandre. Be brave. He's now putting something that looks like an old pair of underpants over the camera. I'm not sure where he found that. I don't want to know.
Sure, it's your underpants.
No, just be quiet and make your filming. Hello, Chris. You sell these, the Chapman's subspecies of zebra. Chris, as far as I know, this is Equus burchelli, and I think it's the nominative species. So I think it's just burchelli. I think that's just it's the plain zebra. We get the Hartmann's mountain zebra and the Cape mountain zebra down in the Cape and up into Namibia, and the Grevy zebra up into East Africa. And you might find, I am actually not sure where the Chapman subspecies of the plain zebra exists. So it might be up in East Africa, but I'm pretty sure this is what we call the nominative subspecies, but I might be wrong. So much research to do, there's so much to learn out here. The beefies are just round the corner here. Geraldine says 200 beefies. That is many beefies. There are some beefies. The pathfinders of the herd, now coming on to quarantine clearings. You see, Geraldine, my timing was immaculate. There you go. This is the first in the group of I think, coming across the clearings. Deeply aged female at the back of this little group. That's a much younger bull in front that Jeandre was looking at, and there is well, she's older than Methuselah.
Your age.
Even older than me. Jeandre 5. James 0. Shame she's looks very arthritic in the front, and of course staying with the buffalo herd will afford her some kind of protection. Not much dies of old age out here, everybody, so possible that she's in for the chop at some stage. very sore, doesn't it? It's just, I'm going to roll slightly forward, Jeandre. The rest of the herd are just coming up here. I can still hear quite a few of them. Well, there must be quite a few if there are 200 down by the pan somewhere. It's a younger cow. There's another big herd of buffalo at the northern end of Mvubu Road, just going to Buffels Hook, that I've just heard about on the radio. So the buffalo all over the place. And one of their number lost his or her life last night to a Birmingham male lion somewhere on Buffels Hook. So these are still the front of the herd as far as I can tell. Now the last time, you know what, this herd has split, I can see. The last time they came up here, they did exactly this. Half the herd came onto these clearings here, turned round in the middle and went back the other way. And the rest of them went down towards the Mlulwati drainage line to the middle of the reserve. And I've just seen one of them way in the distance there, kind of going through a clearing. Very strange that they should do this. I don't really understand. Let's just pop down here to the pan and see where the rest of them have gone. I just got sight of Mama Z coming this way. I'm afraid on account of the fact that I've just seen Mama Z coming this way. Geraldine, please get hold of Samuel and ask him to come along quarantine clearings and just give Mama Z a hand there. Some hyena tracks. Oh, there's a squall coming in, Jeandre. A thick Scotch mist is descending on the place. I'm very reticent to go across the dam wall, given the weather. Yeah, but we will be able to get a view. The rest of the herd has turned around. They've gone down through the drainage here, and they're off towards the Mlulwati and possibly the grazing grounds between the Mlulwati and here. There. You can just see one of them, they're disappearing through the hill there. We've got two, yes, two of them there. So maybe timing not quite so immaculate. That will make Geraldine snigger quietly to herself. Probably not quietly to herself at all. So I'm afraid they have disappeared off up there. Let's go and have a look at the others. I still want to try and get a look at that tawny eagle, if we can. I'm sure this weather will lift by the afternoon, everyone, so I don't think we're going to have too much trouble with rain. I say that. It looks pretty glum. But, I mean, this is the wrong time of the year for rain, but we'll take it. We'll take whatever we can. And I just think it's fascinating that those two chelonid species, the two tortoises came out as soon as there was any moisture at all. They decided to come and see what they could find to eat, and probably drink as well. It's starting to rain. Now, we don't have long left, but I just want to quickly see if we can get a view of that tawny eagle, which was in the middle of the clearings here. Mama Z has been rescued by Eugene. And Pajamas, who's on her day off. Can't remember which tree it was in now. Can you, Jeandre? It's quite a tall one. Well, yes, it may have flown off. The weather is not particularly good for flying. Unless you're a bateleur. No, let's go on, everyone. Let's go on. It was sitting on that tree over there. See the tallest tree there? I can see the branch on which he was sitting. He has flown off. Perhaps he is scavenging somewhere else. Anyway, the reason I wanted to show him to you was because he is so very different from the bateleur. And the bateleur has a distinct advantage because it is able... It has a distinct advantage because it is able to fly lower down when it is going scavenging. He's got another one. He's got an endless supply. It's like a clown. All right, let's go around the corner here. There you are, you prison. Unbelievable. All right, we're going to make our way slowly home now. We'll try again this afternoon. Two days ago, there were tracks of Tingana, I think Tingana, going up and down all over here, and I think he's feeling slightly threatened by old Gajima up to the north. There's the tawny eagle there. It's flying. Well done, Jeandre. That's a genuine compliment. That was a difficult one. There we go. Very nice. So he flew out of a tree here. I don't know what he was looking for. Anyway, that's going to be it from us for the morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. What a wonderful, wonderful time we had with all those cats. Big thanks to, I think, Jeandre. A huge thanks to Sam for finding Karula with David, and of course to Geraldine, the Cheesecake Kent, and her friend Rebecca in the final control. A big thanks to them. Mostly to all of you. Stay safe and happy. We'll see you this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Bye-bye.